Payments Uplift Playbook, Orchestration, Smart Routing, and Real-Time Rails.
Thanks everyone for joining us today, and thank you guys for what is coming next. So guys, everyone, we're here to prove once again that payments can be exciting. And I don't mean only when you're expecting an incoming transaction. I mean in terms of technology, innovation, and creativity. So now let's welcome our panelists, and I'm going to give the word to each one of you to briefly introduce yourself and a couple of words for your company. Now, Vasilije, let's start with you, please.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this panel. There's so many of you. I can see even some people in interesting costumes. My name is Vasilije Lekovic. I work for the last 10 years at Trustly, the global leader in open banking, payments, and data solutions. And I'm currently working as the VP of Gaming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Fabrizio. I work for Nuvei. I'm a Senior Vice President for New Sales for Gaming.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Luca Giancola. I've been working within the payment space since 2012. I've joined Superbet Group in 2019, and now I'm responsible for payments operations in Lucky7 within the Superbet Group. Nice to meet you all.
Grazie. Grazie, Luca. Now, such an esteemed lineup. I hope the audience appreciate the experts taking their time here. And gentlemen, after last night and Placido Domingo, I could not start with anything but orchestration, this time in terms of our industry. So let's please start with you, Vasilije. What is orchestration? Is it a great, luxurious product for companies today, or is it an absolute necessity? How do you see the things?
I think to answer this question is not very simple, and the answer is probably more nuanced. It really depends on type of the gaming company. Some companies that have built a very strong platform internally that has technical capabilities to perform certain actions that orchestration companies are doing, they probably don't need to use an orchestration platform. They can do direct integrations with different payment providers. But then there is a large group of operators that are either small in size or operate on an outdated or old platform that in nowadays technologically advanced payments world, when there is a very strong importance on or emphasis on conversion or on executing the payment the fastest possible way without losing time or money, such companies are in need to do an implementation of an orchestration solution, because it's not only about the size, always is also about the effort required to do this in-house. And if you're a startup or a smaller company or a company that cannot change just their tech stack overnight, you better go for orchestration. But you better choose wisely, I would say.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. How about you, Signore Fabrizio? How do you see the thing?
I think our orchestration was the buzzword of last year, and this year is AI. But last year, everything was about orchestration. I still think that it's super important, especially for big clients, to have the possibility not to only decide which is the best acquirer to drive the traffic to, but also in terms of alternative payment method. Because few years back, cards were kings. So every transaction was about the cards. Nowadays, in every country, for instance, here in Italy, we have cards, but also we have a dozen of alternative payment methods. And you need to be able to drive the traffic according to the preference of the player. So yes, it's super important.
Yeah, I agree. And not only the example with Italy, but if you make a trip around the world, you have such a diversity of payment methods that you cannot go without it.
Okay, here in Italy, cards is still the majority, but if you go in other countries such as, I don't know, Brazil or India, cards the traffic of the cards are
Probably
zero,
less than
probably,
10%.
and everything is about alternative payment method.
Yeah, absolutely agree. How about you, Luca? How do you see it? Is it an absolute necessity or is it?
Obviously, I see it from the operator perspective, right?
Yeah, that
Because
would be
it's
relevant here.
different from their point of views. We have always considered the orchestrator a great product, but nice to have a product in the past. Now I believe in the current landscape, considering that most of the operators are actually working in several regions with different currencies, with the need of integrating with a lot of payment methods, PSPs, etc. I believe that nowadays an orchestrator is absolutely a necessity for any operator in the market.
Definitely agree with you on this one. And whoever does not realize it yet will realize it soon by losing value. But
Yeah, I believe that honestly the main question here is not if the orchestrator is a necessity or not, but it's the question is the operator should actually invest to build it or to buy it. But anyway, I believe that we are going to discuss it during this panel.
Actually, that leads me to next question. And let's start with Vasilije. In your experience, how do companies use payment orchestration? Are they able of taking full advantage of all features? Are they aware of all features, or they're just using what's on top and not diving into it, hence losing some value?
I mean, I think also it depends on the company. The companies that are strong, obviously working in payments, we face, and gambling, we face different types of clients. Some of the clients are focused on certain aspects of the work when it comes to payment providing. That is maybe more high level, focused on the volume, on the uptime, on the pricing.
Yeah.
But then there are very payment product oriented companies in the gambling space that, in my view, such companies are utilizing, they're looking at every step in the payment process and every possible alternative route that will make the transaction go faster, regardless of whether it's a card payment or an alternative payment method, to Fabrizio's point, that is becoming obviously more and more important. And I think that these companies that are closely payment product oriented, they are aiming or trying to utilize the payment orchestration features such as retries, smart routing, availability of different payment methods, different type of reporting, and even reconciliation solutions that are baked into the offering of orchestration platform. But I want to reflect on what Luca said earlier, because when you ask your first question, whether this is a necessity or not, my answer was from the perspective of using, whether you use a third party or not. Orchestrating payments is something that now the gambling companies, they must do, especially if they operate in different markets, in multiple geographies where there is a different payment preference. That is a must. It's just that it's always the dilemma, buy or build. If you're big enough, we have examples of companies that in our space, gaming companies with big resources, that decided to move as many of those activities of an orchestration platform internally, to be able to control as much as possible from that. Obviously, that requires a strong investment, a strong tech team, and time, instead of buying it, which is an alternative where you kind of lose part of that control, but then you don't have to spend resources on building it. But this is also, sorry if I'm answering too long on this question, it's an interesting topic.
Okay.
This is also when you ask a gambling company, do you prefer working with directly with every payment provider, or do you prefer having a payment gateway? I mean, there are two ways of doing this.
Do you think that they actually realize what is lying behind working with every single PSPs? Do you realize the toughness behind
You
this?
can, I think it's interesting to hear about
Realize
this.
soon, by the way.
Sorry?
They will realize soon the
Yeah.
complexity behind it.
Yeah, but that's the thing. For me, it's interesting to hear what Fabrizio and Luca think. But this is also, it can be answered in two ways. Because if you are focused on small number of markets, of small number of operators, my view is that you should integrate them all directly, because it doesn't matter how good the middle layer is, you always need to wait for that Nuvei to do the optimization of trust integration. But if you are an operator that does multiple markets, dozens of payment methods, I don't think it's smart for you to integrate all of them directly. I mean, it's going to take a lot of resources to maintain those integrations and to do them. But some of the methods you should still do integrate directly, and then others use through a third party, which comes with pros and cons. But
in other
it's
words,
good
you need to coordinate and orchestrate. And now let's move with you guys, Fabrizio and Luca. Is it a proprietary orchestration better option, or you better subscribe for one?
Well, as a payment provider like Nuvei,
Put yourself in the shoes of a dependent consultant.
that's right. I think if you would have done the same question 10 years ago, I would opt to build internally my gateway, my orchestrator. Now, because of also the regulation, the features, it's a way too complex. I mean, if I was in charge of a big organization working on different market with different regulator, every regulator asking me different things. For instance, don't accept the credit card or check the card name for Visa or MasterCard. It's impossible to keep up the piece of those regulations. So you need to rely on third party, I think. It's better, especially if you work in many different markets. In some client of ours work globally. So the landscape that you have, I don't know, in Brazil is totally different than what you have in, I don't know, in Italy or Spain or in France. So, of course you can do it, but you have to spend a lot of money and it's not your job. So, yeah, that's my answer.
Luca, do you agree?
Obviously, I have still the opinion from the operator point of view, right? I honestly believe that there is not a right answer here. I'm very in line with what Vasilije was saying. You might decide to go with your own orchestrator, or you can buy something external. I believe that the decision depends on two factors mainly. The first one is obviously on scale, on the size of the company, right? Obviously, a large operator can decide at some point to build something internally. Then, obviously, it's not only building it, but as Fabrizio and Vasilije were saying, it's also maintaining this product, which is extremely complex, especially if you are operating in several regions, you are integrating with so many PSPs, so many payment methods, maintaining all of them really, it really needs a huge team of experts doing it. The second point is the strategy. The second factor is the strategy. Obviously, if an operator wants to use payments as a sort of competitive advantage, in that case, the operator should actually build it internally in order to not have something standardized and that also other operators can access. But if the operator is only considering payments as a sort of important and critical aspect of its core business, which is gaming, which is casino, which is a sportsbook, in that case, it's much better to rely on one of those guys who are actually offering a very good product with a team of experts behind it.
Absolutely, it makes total sense. If I could summarize, it depends on scale and the individual needs of the companies and their look into the future. And let's continue with you, Luca, please. What type of additional services would truly create value beyond what orchestrators offer today?
Yeah, we used to consider orchestrator, or we used to actually to use orchestrator with the preset rules back in the days, right? In order to optimize our acceptance rate, optimize also cost. Now, obviously, operators wants to get something more, and now with the help of AI, what it used to be based on preset rules, so which was a rule-based engine. Now should actually become a more dynamic environment and more dynamic product, which is going to make even a real-time decision, collecting all the data, and the orchestrator can actually decide real-time without any intervention of human being to route the transaction towards one PSPs or to the other, or potentially for cards, to even optimize the cost, deciding to go to one acquirer rather than the other in order to optimize also interchange fees. So this is definitely something that operators are probably already expecting from their providers. And then apart from it, I would also focus on what I would name as a sort of side services. So obviously orchestrators have been focusing mainly on payments orchestration, but it might be extremely important for operators also to have under the same umbrella, under the same platform, not only payments, but also risk, anti-fraud, AML, digital identity verification, all those services actually managed by one orchestrator, one single platform might really bring a lot of value to the operators.
Yeah, it's great and very insightful to see the things from operators' perspective. So if there are orchestration providers here, please take a good note of this. And Fabrizio, speaking of taking full advantage of the services and maximizing efficiency, how do you see how are smart retries or smart routing, how is it able to affect acceptance rate?
Well, I can give you some examples. So we started many years ago to do smart routing and to try to recover some declined transaction, for instance. So imagine that you are on a cashier of your casino online, you want to deposit 100 euro, and you have your prepaid card, for instance, and you don't remember how much you have on your prepaid card. So you try with 100 euro, and you get a message transaction has been denied. So usually the user walk away or try another time, 90 euro, 80 euro, till the transaction go through. For instance, we develop features that is called partial approval, where we can read the balance of the card and we show a message to the users. Okay, you try to deposit 100 euro. We were not able to take 100 euro, but only 50. Is that okay with you? And so the transaction from a denied transaction, it was to be a deposit. And other features that we've been working, this is very important because we have a client here in Italy that improved the approval rate was improved by 15 basis points. And this means that he makes out of a thin air like 15 basis points, 20 K per month more. We have also other solutions that, and all the solution comes from a suggestion from the clients. So that sometimes there were the clients asking us to build something for them. For instance, I think this feature is 10 years old on our cashier. When you try to deposit and you get an error because the acquirer doesn't want to accept the card, instead of to say, okay, your transaction has been declined, we say, okay, why you don't try with Trustly, or why you don't try with PayPal? Or
Good choice.
Yeah, good choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so in this way, instead of to have a declined transaction, you have a successful transaction. And this is also very important. I took some notes also. The recent one was the CVV suppression. So sometimes when the users type the CVV code, sometimes makes an error. And it turns a usual pop-up saying your transaction has been denied. But when we realize that this customer, this player is available, never open a chargeback, we send a transaction to the acquirer without the CVV code. And in this way, we are able to recover up to 80% of the transaction failed because of invalid CVV.
Right.
We have many of those features. I think it's super important that our merchant use them.
Yes.
And I think at the end of the month, having 220K more in your pocket is not bad.
Definitely. It was a perfect illustration of adaptation and creativity and smart features. And speaking of smart features, Vasilije, nowadays a lot of the features are even smarter thanks to the existence of AI. Does Trustly apply AI in some way in their services already? And can you give some examples?
Yeah, I mean, we do apply AI from in different parts of our organization, and I think that AI definitely is an interesting area that will, over time, in the upcoming years, be used more and more. We apply it even within our commercial teams, let alone product and tech, for simplifying the processes and making things easier. I think that it's still early days to say that we've seen everything from the AI implementation. But I want to come back to what both Fabrizio and Luca were saying
Please.
about the answer to the question, what else should payment orchestrators do? What Fabrizio was now explaining about how they are, with smart retries, able to recover transactions that were usually, before this type of setup, lost transactions. I think that that is very important. And one of the kind of strong USPs of payment orchestrators should be delivering solutions that the operators are not capable of building themselves. And this especially, for example, this I assume is a pure gold for an operator that has an outdated platform. They would not build it themselves, and you probably build it for another operator, and then you can roll it out for all the merchants. I think that the user experience, what happens when the user comes to the cashier, is extremely important, and the payment orchestrators must be the ones that will help overcome those obstacles. What happens if my transaction gets declined? Do I get offered an alternative which will save a few clicks to go to the next payment method? How is the cashier communicating with me? And then all the following activities next to that. But I also agree with Luca, what he said earlier, and we feel this as payment providers, and I'm sure in Nuvei you have that as well. It is not enough anymore to be a payment provider. Even if you have the best, I mean, we are the best in open banking, but that means instant deposits and payouts. But that's not enough, because now you have the, not now, but for the last several years, the PSD2 regulation. So anybody with a good tech team and a bag of money can aim to build a open banking solution. So all the additional services need to be built on top of providing payments, including KYC data, so onboarding solutions like we have the Pay and Play, financial data solutions, and all the other AML solutions that are offered today by payment providers. And they should be offered by payment orchestrators, because you as an operator, if you come and have as many of those activities or products available through one source, it's going to save you time and money. And yes, in my view, I think that you should always have a redundancy, because you cannot put all your eggs in one basket, but it will simplify the process, because you will not have 10 points of contact, one for AML, one for pure payments or cards, or two, and then alternative payment methods. It's too many points of contact, too much hassle, too much operational effort, and that all increases risk. If you can get a lot of those solutions from your orchestrator, I think that it saves you time and money.
Definitely.
Only one solution definitely is what we are aiming to.
Yeah. And
Only one solution.
Yes,
So all those services.
it's called Trustly.
I quite like the quotation. Nowadays, it's not enough to be the best. I mean, we can highlight this. And speaking of this, Luca, can you? What is your number one piece of advice from an operator's perspective to payment service providers in general? What would advise them to do better and to focus on?
Yeah, I see that we only have 5 minutes left.
Yes.
And this question probably needs 5 days to
That is why
really
your number one.
number one, only reliable providers.
The reliability.
Yeah.
Okay, now if we turn things vice versa, Fabrizio, what would you advise operators to focus on? Number one thing.
Sorry, say again.
What would your piece of advice to operators be when it comes to handling payments? What should they focus on mostly? Top priority.
I think it depends on the company. Definitely, it must be a reliable provider.
Yeah.
That's the number one. But sadly, I have to say that still nowadays, many merchants only look at the price. They don't look at the approval rate. They don't look at the alternative payment method that you can offer.
Got you.
So, yeah, definitely depends on the company. But I would say for a big company, I would say being reliable and be present in every market because
Makes
your
sense.
company maybe today are focused on Europe and tomorrow they can move to India. And so your solution provider has to be able to provide the solution over there, which has totally different dynamics
Makes
compared
a lot
to
of
Europe.
sense. Thank you. What about Vasilije? Can you give some piece of advice to operators or tell them what mistakes they should avoid in future from your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree here with Fabrizio. There is too many operators today whose payments teams have a KPI that is lower the cost. And then sometimes some of the operators are blindsided by the cost side of things that they completely miss out on user experience, conversion rate, reliability, redundancy solutions offers by providers. Because at the end of the day, and Luca, you will agree as an operator, if you provide, if you save 20% on the fees with your payment provider, but then you lose 5 basis points on the conversion, you lost more money. Or if you have a bad experience with couple of VIP players, then you lost them forever. And this is so much bigger effect than just saving a few. Obviously, pricing in this economy is very important. We all look at it, the cost, but it has to be a holistic view in my perspective, a holistic view that includes both the product offering, the pricing, the team behind the payment provider. Who are those people? Are they of good reputation?
Yeah.
Do they have good customer success, account management, B2B support, compliance, and other teams? I think it has to be much more complex decision making and not just focusing on one component or two.
Yeah, definitely. It's very valuable to hear it from someone who is privileged to be able to see the overall picture for many operators, not a single case.
That's why operators should actually focus on looking for a very good orchestrator or build a very good orchestration internally, because in that case the operator can actually try to aim to both of them, good pricing, but also smart routing. In order to good pricing will not affect then acceptance rate overall.
Yeah, agree. Okay, dear signori, thank you very much. We are running short of time, so we can continue our lovely discussion offline. And let's thank the audience and let's give a round of applause to our panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And now let's get the group picture for a nice memory. And thanks, Sigma, once again. And thank you, gentlemen.
A massive thank you to Georgi and the fantastic panelists. Let's give them another round of applause.